afraid of the dark.
I often spend my evenings delivering for DoorDash to earn some extra money without the commitment of a strict second job. One night I started my shift around 9 p.m. and steadily picked up orders until about 11 p.m. when things slowed down. I stayed near a shopping center with several fast food restaurants, waiting for the next order. Eventually, another order came in for a delivery about 4 miles away. After picking up the food, I started following the directions to the address, but it quickly became clear that it wasn't leading to a house. Zooming in on the map, I saw that the address was along a street with no buildings, just what seemed like an empty plot of land. Knowing that the DoorDash map can sometimes be unreliable, I decided to check it out and planned to call the customer if necessary. The drive took nearly 20 minutes, and I arrived at a desolate street with no houses, crossroads, or passing cars. At the end of the street, it turned into a gravel road with a small, weathered wooden sign that was illegible. I pulled onto the gravel road, turned on my brights, and spotted something far down the road. As I got closer, my phone alerted me that I had arrived. In my headlights, I saw a small mobile home or RV with poorly painted numbers matching the address. Holding the food, I approached the RV, feeling uneasy. The mobile home looked old and overgrown, odd for something meant to be mobile. I knocked and waited, uncomfortable with the idea of standing there for a cash order. The area was surrounded by woods, with no lights anywhere, and beyond the RV there was complete darkness. I heard a noise inside and braced for someone to answer the door, but then a voice startled me from the right. A man stood at the corner of the RV smiling at me. He asked if I had his order, and I nodded, apologizing as I handed it to him and told him the total. He pulled out a $5 bill and said he needed to get the rest, then walked around the RV. As I stood there, something felt off about the situation and the man's demeanor. I waited for a minute before my anxiety got the better of me, and I peeked around the corner to see where he went. In the distance, I saw a figure standing still near what looked like a shed. My unease grew when I heard the RV door opening behind me. Another man peeked out, but before I could speak, he slammed the door shut. My heartbeat quickened. I looked back at the figure near the shed, who was now walking toward the RV, carrying something long, either a bat or a rifle. Panicking, I ran back to my car, started it with shaky hands, and reversed quickly. As I drove away, the man from the RV stood calmly in the darkness. Unsure of what had just happened, I went straight home, debating whether to call 911. In the end, I decided not to, since I didn't really know what was going on. Whatever that night was, it remains a strange and unsettling encounter with no clear answers. Before I dive into the next story, I want to thank today's sponsor, Aura. Aura is an advanced digital security service that helps you scan and remove your personal data from various online sources, including scam centers, the dark web, and data brokers. These entities often exploit your private information, so removing your data from their reach is essential. With Aura, it's easy. I signed up for their free trial in just a few minutes, and with a few clicks, Aura scanned and removed my data from numerous places where it was found, like my full name, phone number, and address information I wouldn't have known was out there without Aura. Aura continuously monitors your data, notifying you instantly if any issues arise, allowing for quick resolution. They also offer a feature to encrypt your home Wi-Fi, ensuring the security of all your connected devices. In today's world, personal identity and data theft are widespread, affecting many U.S. citizens and causing significant financial losses. With Aura, you can confidently protect your personal information. For a completely free 14-day trial, visit aura.com/whispered or scan the QR code provided. During the trial, you can discover if your personal data has been compromised, remove it from multiple prominent platforms, and securely monitor your identity. I highly recommend trying the free trial to see if your data has been stolen and to keep your identity secure. Thanks to Aura for sponsoring this video and keeping our personal data safe. Now onto the story. I work at a 24-hour drive-through restaurant, and this incident happened just a few weeks ago. I'm a crew manager, but I mostly do the same tasks as everyone else, like cooking and taking orders during the overnight shift. We usually have at least 2 people on duty, a manager and a cook. However, on this particular night, the cook called in sick, and none of the other employees could cover the shift. By midnight, I was the only one working. Typically, the restaurant doesn't get busy overnight, and more employees come in at 4 a.m., so I only had to manage everything alone for a few hours. I left my headset on in case someone came to the drive-thru and started working on my nightly tasks, beginning with scraping and cleaning the stovetops. A few minutes in, I heard a banging sound from the front of the restaurant. I walked over and saw a man standing at the front door, banging on it. He pressed his face against the glass and scanned the room until he saw me. As I approached the door, he backed up, seemingly expecting me to open it. I shouted through the glass that the dine-in area was closed and that he needed to use the drive-thru if he wanted to order. He looked confused, so I repeated that the doors were locked and he had to use the drive-thru. He didn't respond, so I turned and went back to the kitchen, figuring he'd get the hint eventually. I continued working on the stovetops for another 15 to 20 minutes. I checked the front once, and it seemed like the man had left. The parking lot was empty, and he was no longer at the door. However, shortly after finishing the stoves, my headset alerted me that someone was at the drive-thru. I turned on my mic and asked for their order while walking to the window, but no one responded. When I checked the camera, there was no car outside, and I didn't see any movement. I dismissed it and started walking back. As I reached the back room, I stopped, thinking I heard something. Listening closely, I realized there were footsteps on the roof. They were slow and careful, just enough to make the roof creak. I followed the sound, watching the ceiling until I saw the ladder leading to the maintenance hatch. It dawned on me what they were trying to do. I rushed to the ladder, looking for a way to lock the hatch, but I'd never used it before and didn't know if it even locked. Suddenly, I heard loud creaks and thuds above me, followed by the hatch opening slightly. Through the gap, I saw a pair of eyes staring down at me. Panicking, I ran to the front of the building, unlocked the door, and fled to my car. I called the police while sitting in my car, watching the restaurant's windows. While on the phone, I saw a shadow move near the front counter, followed by a man standing in the back of the restaurant, looking in my direction. He quickly turned and disappeared behind the kitchen. The police arrived and searched the place, including the roof, but the man had already fled. Nothing was stolen, no equipment, no money, nothing. He had just broken in and left. I tried not to dwell on it, but it's hard not to think that he might have been targeting me. This happened recently, so there's not much of an update. Despite having his face on camera, the police haven't identified him yet. The building owner has since installed a padlock on the inside of the hatch, which should have been done earlier, but it was seen as an inconvenience. I still worry about the man's intentions and whether he might be waiting for another opportunity when I'm alone. For the past 5 years, I've been working various odd jobs across the country, living in a van and moving around frequently. Occasionally, I stay in one place for a few months to earn some money before moving on. At this time, I was in the mid-eastern part of Utah and had taken a job at a gas station. The station was located on a road primarily used by locals as a shortcut in and out of the state, avoiding highway traffic. There wasn't much else on this route, just the road and the gas station for the occasional driver. The remote location suited me well since I lived in my van and could easily stay there while working. I'd been at the gas station for just over a month, working various shifts. One night I was on the 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. shift. It was a quiet night, with only a few customers stopping by the pumps and not much to do in terms of restocking. I mostly spent the time on my phone or pacing around the store, tidying the shelves. Around 1 a.m., a customer pulled into the station and parked in one of the spaces right in front of the door. Expecting him to come inside, I returned to the counter. A man walked in, smiled at me, nodded, and then headed down one of the aisles. He started whistling while picking up various items, examining them, and then putting them back. It wasn't clear if he was just taking a break from driving or actually needed something, as he didn't seem interested in buying anything. Suddenly he stopped whistling, walked to the door, and left. It was strange, but I didn't think he had stolen anything. He got into his car, moved around a bit, reached into the back seat, and then came back into the store. This behavior made me uncomfortable, as it seemed like the beginning of a potential armed robbery. However, the aggression I feared didn't happen. He approached the counter and asked how my night was going. We exchanged small talk, and I tried to act normal in case I was overreacting. Then he asked if I could help him with his car, saying his tires needed air and he hadn't seen any pumps outside. The station didn't have self-service air pumps, but we had a handheld air compressor for emergencies. I got it and followed him to his car. He pointed out the tire that needed air, and I knelt down to use the compressor. After just a few seconds, the pressure read as correct. When I looked up at the man, he was staring down at me with a blank expression. I started to walk back to the shop, but he quickly blocked the door. His right hand was deep in his jacket pocket, and he looked tense, as if preparing to do something. I told him to move, but he stayed put, clearly ready to act. I took a step back, trying to defuse the situation, but then suddenly he ran around me, got in his car, and sped away. I rushed back inside and called 911. Surprisingly, the police arrived within minutes. They informed me that they were already looking for the man's car, as he was on the run from a crime committed near the state border. They didn't provide details, but the way they spoke suggested it wasn't a minor offense. After giving a quick statement, the officers left to continue their search. I never received any updates on the situation. Despite trying to find information about recent crimes, I couldn't uncover anything relevant. I'm unsure what the man's intentions were or why he stopped at the station, but I suspect he might have been planning to steal my van to cover his tracks or delay pursuit. Given the seriousness of his crime, I realized my life could have been in danger. Why he chose not to harm me remains a mystery.